into the world of business, automations, and digital products for monthly recurring revenue. Welcome, Andy, and how are you doing today?
I'm excited, man. I'm excited, locked in and loaded.
Amazing. Well, what did your week look like this week? Give us a little bit of insight. What is it, second week of May or something? What did your
So,
week look like?
so I had a thought this morning on my way to the gym that one week is more activity than I used to do in a year. So we held events. We held multiple events. We had some events for high level where we're hosting webinars. I did my own webinars. We did workshops and trainings. So our company is jamming and moving and grooving and pouring value literally into hundreds of people's lives every single week. And I'm just excited to see our business grow and grow and grow.
Yeah, I hear you. And I mean, it's only Thursday, so we still have a couple events tomorrow. So that's
Hmm.
exciting. Well, for today's topic, I actually want to dive into a topic that I study for fun. And I know you do too. I mean, we have a lot of experience in this field, which is being a leader versus being a boss. So, would you consider yourself a boss or a leader?
Now, I would say that I'm a leader for sure. I think when I hear the word boss, it's like I'm gonna tell you what to do, and that is a lot of work to be a boss, and you get a lot of churn where people want to leave your organization, so you get high turnover, and I mean it's not exciting. So I would say that not only am I a leader, but I would invite others to be leaders rather than be bosses.
Gotcha. Well, when would you say your leadership journey started? Was this something at the young age? Was it through business? When did that start for you?
Of me being a leader.
Yeah.
I think when I started in the cell phone industry, I got so much knowledge in the cell phone industry that everything really revolves around that's like my stepping stone. Before that, I was an employee, and that was the last time I was an employee. So it all started for me in the cell phone industry when somebody gave me an opportunity to go ahead and start leading a team, and it's been a game of learning ever since.
Gotcha. So, being that it started in the cell phone industry, I mean, how did you learn the tools? Because so I went traditional, college and corporate. So even though I have a degree in business management, I do think that they don't necessarily give you the tools. They gloss over it. They'll have like a course on like communication and things like that. The most leadership you get in college exposure is like, oh, you're in a group and one of you is the leader who volunteers, right? But
Yeah.
it's all theory and like role play. But in your journey, since you started businesses right away, where did you get your tools? How did you learn leadership?
So number one in my journey, so when I ran the cell phone store, I had a manager. His name was Mike, and Mike C. This was given the name Mike C. And in Mike's case, he was trying to prepare me to run a location because if I was able to run a location, it would take that location off his plate. He was my regional manager, and he would have at that time. I mean, today he probably has. He's still in the industry of cell phones, so today he probably has over 100 locations to see. But at that time, I think he had like 8 locations or maybe 10 locations. And Mike was one of those guys that was like throw you in the fire. So I learned by getting thrown in the fire, and he communicated by sharing a vision. And Mike would say to me, "Hey man, so like you just have to get the result of X amount of boxes. So a box was just a cell phone. So hey, in your location, you want to get the result of 185 boxes." And I'm like, okay, so I got to figure out how to sell 185 cell phones. And part of that is leadership, because your team is either A, you're going to sit down and wait for people to come in and just buy a phone, or your team is going to go out and essentially hunt and bring in deals and bring in sales. And I remember this one predicament where he gave me the target of 185 boxes, and I think I was like 19 or 18, and I remember saying to myself, "Man, there are people that are working here that are 26, and I'm their manager. So they were 7 years my senior, right? Or there were people in their 30s, and I'm their manager, so that means they were 10, 15, 10, 15 years my senior." And I went to Mike one day and I said, "Look, you told me 185 boxes. I got to move, and I'm in a predicament. The team that I'm working with right now, they don't want to work. They want to chill out. They want to sit behind the seats, and they're treating this like McDonald's. So like, hey, when a customer comes, the customer's gonna come. But we're all commission based plus, plus a small salary. So he said, clear house. I said, what? He said, clear house. Clear house means to let go of everyone and start over from scratch, and or give them an opportunity to grow. Either one. But your result is 185 boxes, and literally just walked away from me. So there were one or two people that I had to clear house with, and I let them go because they were completely not in alignment. I think that's one of the elements of a leader. You can't change someone who doesn't want to be changed. A leader in the scenario, a follower is going to look up to the leader and say, hey, the follower is going to say, hey, I want to grow and I want to expand. The leader's job is to empower that individual to grow and to expand into their vision. So if you have someone who is not willing to grow and expand, you're not going to be able to change them and say some magical word that's going to change their vision for their life and themselves. That's not going to happen. So in Mike's case, when he told me to clear house or give them an opportunity to grow, there were a couple people that said, hey, you know what, Andy, you're right. I want to make more money. You're right, Andy. I want to make more sales. You're right, Andy. I want to be able to upskill, right? To skill up myself. I want to change my skill set. And then there was other people that was like, dude, we're working at T-Mobile Metro PCS, man. Like, this is a basic job. I'm getting paid a few dollars an hour. I'm just here to get my whatever my salary is. And if someone comes in, dude, I'll help them out, okay? And I was like, you're not the person that's going to help me get to 185 boxes. Thank you so much. Today's your last day. And I'll take over your shift because I'd rather work double than have you here. So I took over some people's shifts, let them go. And then the other people that were willing to grow, they ended up becoming store managers. I think one of them is still in the industry today. So I've been out of the industry for 10 years, and I taught them like that pivot for me as a leader. I taught them what they need to know. I taught them how to greet, how to qualify, how to present, how to close, how to follow up, how to bring in people into the store. And now they're teaching that same skill set to other people today. So leadership is empowering other people to be in alignment with their own vision of themselves. A boss is, I'm going to tell you what your vision should be and what your vision is, and I'm going to tell you how to get there. A leader is someone who says, hey, what is your vision for your life? What is your vision for what you're creating? And they're going to say, okay, let me give you at least a blueprint or a guide, and let me empower you to accomplish that target. And I'm going to be there to support you along the way. That's the difference between a leader and a boss.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first got a leadership role was in construction project management, but yeah, they just threw me in there. It was more like you make it or you break it. And a lot of people did not make it because being in mid-20s and leading a group of construction crew, I was the youngest, and it was just like a very interesting dynamic. So I can relate with that, but that's how my um manager at that time, which he taught me leadership in that sense, where he was like, I'm gonna check in on you on Friday. Did you finish the remodel? Yes or no? And everything was my responsibility. So I do remember that's when I learned leadership as well. He didn't care about the why, the how, or what ifs. It was like, did you do it or not? And then I had to put the right teams in positions. So that is an example of success, right? Getting an opportunity, getting someone else to speak that into us, giving us an opportunity into leadership. But what would you say your the hardest lesson, or I don't want to call it failure because I think everything is a lesson for growth. But what would you say the most the hardest part that you've had to learn of being a leader?
In 2000 and 2016, well, maybe the end of 2015. So in the end of 2015, I went to my right hand. This is back. I'm going back to the cell phone store days because I think for me in that journey prepared me for almost everything that I've had to encounter. It was a couple years of the cell phone industry for me was a couple years of that's one of the hardest industries to be in, and mentally, the mental in the mental aspect, because your job is to create revenue and create sales. It's not like when most consumers today, when they walk into a cell phone store, they're like, "Oh, I'm here to sell a cell phone." man, there is tactics, there are strategies, because it's so competitive heavy. Because you could be at a Verizon store today, right next door is going to be an AT&T, right down the street is going to be an AT&T store, and so from top down, from corporate all the way down to the store level, it's very heavy on sales, very heavy on creating revenue. And I remember when we bought our phones, right? Our phones were Verizon. The person, I was such a busy business owner. The person was like, "I'll hop on Zoom with you to get you to sign up with Verizon." So we did the deal over Zoom, right? Because they're commission based, and they're heavy to create, incentivized to create sales. Now, this is more for like higher tickets. So we're business owners, and we are on business mobile devices. But that's how it was for T-Mobile and Metro PCS as well. And in 2015, I had this aha moment when I went to my right hand, Jorge or George, and I said, "George, man, like I created this cell phone store business to use it as a catalyst for us to essentially get out the hood. Like this is an opportunity for us to be able to get out the hood, man. And I want you to imagine us traveling. I want you to imagine, being in California. I've never been to California at that time. I want you to imagine like what it would look like to go to Miami. Like that Miami wasn't a thing for us. Like we were stuck in an impoverished area in a small city, and I'm this dreamer that's like, we could travel one day. We could go to LA. You ever been to LA? And everyone's like, no, I've never been to LA, but I've seen enough on TV that I want to try it, right? We could go to, that was the big thing back then for me, like go to LA. And I was telling him like, we could do all these things. And he came to me and he said, some people aren't down for that. They just are here for a paycheck. And I was like, there's no way, bro. People come here to work. It is for a paycheck, bro. There's no way. Like people we're all dreaming big. And he's like, no, not all of us. Like I'm with you, Andy. He told me, like, he's like, I'm with you. And he's still with me to this day. He was a groomsman at my wedding. Like he's still with me to this day. But he mentioned like some people are just here for a check. And I said, let me check. Let me see. So I held the team meeting at my office. So we had multiple stores, and then we had this big old office that we rented. That I did admin stuff, and my assistant was there, and then and we held inventory there. And I walked in, and everyone came in. It was like 6 o'clock at night or something of that nature on a Saturday, or it was a Sunday because the malls closed at 5 on Sunday. And so everyone came in at 6 o'clock on a Sunday. We having a team meeting. I think I had like 12, 14 of my staff members there. And mind you, I'm like 21 at this time, and I'm in the front of this with this little whiteboard. I haven't thought about this story in a long time. And I said, hey guys, like I want to share with you what my vision is. I don't think I did a great job in explaining to you what my vision was and why I started this business. And I essentially said, like, I want to create something that can get us all out of our environment. There's a bigger world out here, and I want to be able to tap into that world. I want to see what it's like to have stores in different cities, and I want to be able to travel and see different parts of the world, at least the United States for now. And then people were like, that's cool. And I remember there was, I had a employee that was like very like, yeah, like snapping her fingers and clapping her hands. Like she was like very from my environment. And she's like, "Nah, I'm not with it. Like, I'm here. I'm here to get paid, man. I applied. I'm here to get paid. I applied for a job. I got a job. Like, just pay me my commission and my sales. I'm good. I'm out with all that stuff." And I was like, "Wow." Instead of taking responsibility to showcase my vision, at that point, I was like, "Dude, I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my time." And that's what started the journey for me to start identifying what I wanted to go ahead and create. So like the biggest failure for me in leadership was when I was really at that time probably more operating like a boss, telling people like, hey, this is what you should be thinking, this is what your vision should be. And I'm leading with that, but reality, that's not what they wanted. And for a long period of time, I had people in my corner that was not in alignment with my vision. So I think today as a leader, it's share a vision, attract the people who are in alignment, who can get behind your vision. And that's when you're going to start seeing your business rise, your life rise, and so on and so forth. And the same thing happens for your relationship. Same thing happens for your partnership in your life. your partners in your team, your partners in your business, is as a leader, you're declaring a vision. That's what your job is. And you sell that vision, you communicate that vision, and the right people will be behind it. Otherwise, you're wasting your time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's powerful. I think that was a great lesson to be able to decipher like who's here for just a paycheck, and then other people are like, I'm in it for whatever the journey is. So let me ask you this, because you bring up it's important in a partnership as well. Would you say it was difficult for you when we started dating? Because I was in leadership at that time. I was leading a franchise. So I had a team and I was director. But then before that, I was in construction project management. So I did have a lot of that like energy that comes. Like, I'll give you an example. When I was at your conference when we met in 2019, I told like people naturally network, like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I was a construction project manager. Now I'm a director. And this young 20 something year old was like, ooh, nobody's going to like that. I don't know why he felt compelled to share that, but he was like, nobody's going to like that. That's too much masculine energy. And I had never heard that because in corporate, in the environment I was in, it was like, you can't be soft, feminine in construction. And so when he said that, I was like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean that's a bad thing? So didn't fully understand it. But fast forward to me and you moving in, engaged and all that. Did you find it difficult being that we both have such a leadership mindset?
In our relationship, I wouldn't say that I found it to be quite that challenging because your ability to pivot. I think that what I saw in you was that you have a skill set of identifying when to step into that masculine role and when to not be in that masculine role and be in a feminine role. And with me, majority of the time, you've been in a feminine role, and that's what allowed our relationship to progress. I'm not. I was never looking for a homie. I was not looking for a business partner, and I think what you're bringing up is actually quite challenging in today's world, where there are women who are with a man that is a leader. And the thing is, I would say for me, in my journey, I am 98% masculine, 2% feminine in my feminine power. And that 98% of that time, if I'm against or with that masculine energy in a relationship, there's going to be a friction. There's going to be friction. I would say, in my perspective for you, I would say that you're 98% feminine with me, 2% masculine with me. So that 2% is if I'm in my 98% masculine and you're in your 2% masculine, in our relationship, there's a little bit of friction. But for the majority, when you're 98% feminine and I'm 98% masculine, that 98% of the time, there's this bond, this connection, community, and so forth. I think today what needs to have to be clear is that men, you get to be in your masculine 98% of your time. Touch that feminine power that you have, but you get to be in your masculine 98% of the time, especially with your woman, especially in your business, especially in your relationships and so forth. Because you get to lead from the front, you get to show, you get to be an example. Women, I would say the same thing. Be 98% in your feminine. Identify what your life looks like to be 98% in your feminine. And yes, we all have the opposites, right? But be 2% in your masculine. If you are 50-50 in your masculine, you will drive away a leader. Because in a relationship, because you're creating this friction. As a woman, you're creating this friction in your relationship. There's only two ways that it could work out. A, you completely separate, or B, your man has to become feminine while you're in your masculine. And if you believe that's going to work, then sometimes that does work, where some men become 98% feminine. I can't lead a man who's in his feminine. It just doesn't work. I can't work with a gentleman who's in his feminine, who's 98% his feminine. But because I speak to empower men in a way that's like you lead from the front. So I would say for you and I, because you have that ability, you could be 98% masculine. But what I've seen in you is that you switch that and you're like, hey, no, I'm with Andy now. I'm chilling. I don't even have my car keys with me. I don't even know where we're going. I don't have my car keys. I don't have a GPS, and I don't even know how to get home. But I'm with Andy, and I'm the one over here with a gun on my hip, with looking side to side. I'm the one that's like, I know exactly who's in and around the room. I know Marshall's behind me. Like, I know the whole deal, right? But you got to play your part, and I think you've done a great job over the years of playing your part. But I do know deep down, if I need you to be masculine, I can support and empower that out of you to be in a masculine state, to handle a certain accomplishment or a certain goal. But I prefer to keep you in your feminine.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I think that I have an awareness and like a switch depending on the environment that I'm in, depending on the role, depending on what the goal is. But I will definitely share from a women's perspective. It was exhausting for me to be in highly stressful leadership positions. Like, could I do it? Yes. Was I capable? 100%. I was always like a top producer, always achieving high results, but it was exhausting. Like, I think that's where a lot of in the past, when I was doing those 70-hour work weeks, high stress, people depending on me, I did not really enjoy it. Well, I had told myself like this is what everybody does, right? But now it is very different because, like you said, like when we travel, I'll give you an example. When we went to Rhode Island, I don't even remember, but how or why we had the rental. But I think I was like sitting in a bench with my feet like up on the suitcase, and I'm just like, I think he's got it right, like he's good, and I'm just over here eating my snacks. Um, but yeah, I think I've definitely noticed like there is a time and a place to lead, and there's a time and a place to be like, hey, you got it. I trust that you got it. And you've mentioned it before. You're like, are you like a passenger princess? I'm like, I mean, I'm sure you know which direction we're going, and that's an example of an everyday, right? But that goes in business as well. Like, I don't fight you on your business direction. I'm like, okay, that sounds great. Good, go for it. Here's what I think, and go for it. Um, with that being said, in regards to growing a team and how you make decisions now, where you are in life, would you hire someone that has sales experience, or would you hire but no leadership experience, or would you hire someone that has leadership experience but no sales experience? Which one would be more valuable?
Essentially, like, what skill set is more valuable, the sales skill set of sales or a skill set of leadership?
Yeah, they do not have both, so they would only come in with one.
Sales, because you can develop leadership skills, and you could develop sales skills, but your ability to sell leadership is like your ability to communicate a vision, communicate a direction. And if you have a sales skill, then you'll naturally attain the ability to communicate a vision rather than a product. So in sales, you're selling a product, you're selling a service, for example, and then in leadership, you're communicating a vision. So actually, those two skill sets end up going back and forth very well. So you actually are doing sales when you're a leader, and you actually are doing leadership when you're doing sales. So it's kind of like saying, would you rather be a mother? It's essentially it's two things that go in alignment, because you're in a sales call, in a sales presentation, you're leading that call. A good closer, you're a leader on that call, or you're a leader in that presentation. And a good leader, you're selling your vision, you're selling direction to your team. So you're presenting an opportunity and you're closing that deal, but that deal just happens to be where we're going to be 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, or even next
Gotcha.
week.
Yeah. But so you're saying both can be coachable though. If Would
Both
you
is
hire
coachable.
anybody that has none of those? Would you hire someone that doesn't come with either?
I hire based off their vision, because I'm coaching people, supporting them to what they want to see in their life. Like the people that I have on my team today, I'm like, what do you see yourself 5 years from now? What do you see yourself? I remember the person who's the company manager today for Audate Media. I think when we hired her, she was like 21, so on and so forth, or maybe 20, maybe 19. I don't know. But she was just straight out of college. And I said, "What do you envision for your life?" And she's like, "I want to be a business owner. I want to be able to help my family. I want to help have employees one day, and so on and so forth." And I was like, "We can help you get there, right? We can help you get there. Run a business first and learn that." So she started off with the lowest of the lowest roles in the admin department, and she just started like creating Google Drives and Google Docs, right? Google, like the most basic role. Today, she leads a team. She has subordinates under her. She is managing majority of our clients, and she manages partner relationships, and she's creating all of these assets and this production and these results. But it wasn't based off her skill set. It was based off of her vision for her life. If someone is like, I don't know what my vision is. I'm just trying to pay my bills right now. That's totally fine. The only thing is you will be limited and you're probably gonna get there. So where if you're like, hey, I don't know where I'm going, you're probably gonna arrive there. And if you don't know where you're going and you arrive there, then you're gonna be lost because you're lost right now. So I would say it all starts with their vision.
Yeah, it actually reminds me. I've heard you give people like some opportunity to support at events or kind of be like, alongside you in sales calls, events, speaking events, and all that. And I've seen you ask certain people like, "Hey, what's your goal?" And then they're like, "I don't know. I'm just figuring it out. I'm open." And I think we both realize when that happens, it's kind of like a red flag as far as the team building because they're so undecided, they can't commit to anything. Like one day they want to be a singer, the next day they're going to be sales, the next day they're going to be an influencer. So would you say that's a red flag? If someone's looking to add to their team right now, and they're going through the interview process, or they're looking for their next team member, and the people around them are like, I don't know, I just want to see what I can learn. Would you say that's a red flag?
I would in the beginning, sometimes they're not clear. Like when I was 21, when I was 19, I couldn't imagine what I'm doing today per se. Like I would just say paint a picture of what your life looks like. What does your life look like? If it's something that you can get behind in and you're enrolled as a leader in your business and you're talking to somebody that you're potentially hiring, they may not be able to communicate quite clearly, but what you want to identify is their progress in their vision. Is their progress from where they're at? If they can't paint the picture with progress, you're gonna have someone who is stagnant and your business will be stagnant. But because we live in a world that is such a progressive world, I was just talking to one of our team members yesterday, and I was saying to them like, "Hey, the vision that we painted 2.5, 3 years ago, we're changing it, and we're progressing from it because the world is moving so fast. Like AI wasn't a thing as aggressive as it is today. Like our business is we're adding so much artificial intelligence into our business to help our team members, and that wasn't even a thing 3 years ago. That wasn't in top of mind, right? I remember years ago we had copywriters on staff, and I remember like, yeah, we're always gonna have copywriters. And it's like a few years later, it's like there's no need for the copywriters that we have when you have ChatGPT. I remember we used to have graphic designers heavily on staff, and it's like, well, you can use DALL-E and OpenAI or Midjourney to create your graphics, and then you know Canva is so advanced today that you can have a junior admin be able to create the same level of work that a full-time, fully fledged Photoshop graphic designer did when we had them 3 4 years ago, you know. And it's just opening my eyes today. Sometimes, you know, the stuff that a developer on our team would do video editing work because it's like so quick on using AI and Canva. It's just so fast for them to do it that you're like, hey, I no longer have to submit a request to a video editor, wait 3 days for them to deliver the product inside of Adobe when they can just go use AI and say, I need you to edit this video this way. It's like, what? That was never a thing 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So it's going to be hard for your team member, especially if they're a junior just starting out, for them to clearly communicate the future when they're like, man, the world changed so fast. I don't even know what 2 years from now is going to look like, right? But it's like if you look at a 21-year-old today, when they were 17, the world was different 4 years ago. Like it's just so different, and they're seeing it move much faster. However, what I would say is this: ask them to paint a picture of what the future looks like for them. If they can illustrate progress, you have someone good on your hands. If they cannot illustrate progress, if they can only see what's in front of them, then they are a stagnant individual. Doesn't mean that they're bad. Doesn't mean that something's wrong with them. It's just their personality type and what their perspective of the world is. Now, if you hire someone who's stagnant, that department of your business is going to be stagnant. That portion of your business is going to be stagnant because they're going to be waiting for you to deliver task or waiting for you to deliver direction. So if you are, let's say it's you and 3 people on your staff, or you and 2 people and you hire another person, so that's a total of 4. If you hire someone that's stagnant, that means 25% of your business is going to be stagnant. You're not going to have progress in 25% of your business. If you are hiring your first assistant and you put so much attention on your business on this individual to help them grow, that means 80% of your business is going to be stagnant, right? So, but when you hire someone who has a progressive vision in nature, then your business is going to progress much faster. So, like, for example, in all areas of my business, I'm working with people who are players that are like, hey, I want to grow. We just terminated someone who we just realized that they weren't willing to grow. Like, they're just looking to pay the bills. And we're like, hey, we seen that personality type. We seen what's the end result. Unfortunately, that's not Andy's motto is progress daily. And I didn't even have to terminate that person, right? It wasn't even me that terminated. It was their manager that saw that, hey, you're not a progressive individual. And we have a culture of progress daily. The name of our software is called Progretta, which is progress daily matched together. And we see that you're an individual who's looking for tasks and you'll complete it once it's given to you. So you're not a progressive individual. So because of that, it's going to be hard for you to grow in this culture. And we don't want to hurt your growth by you being in a culture that's all about progression and you aren't. And if that's okay. It's not bad that you aren't. It's just not a good fit for where we're going and what we're looking to create. And so it makes sense for us to depart in a professional way. And that's how terminations look like with someone who's stagnant. So it's not bad to be stagnant. It's just a different way of operating your life, and you want to be around people who are progressing on a regular basis.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I 100% agree. Well, you brought up something which leads me to my last question on this topic, which is AI. Do you think AI can replace leadership roles in the workplace or business?
Probably.
And why is that? I say no. The reason is because of the for me, leadership is leading people with different personalities. There's like a lot of that people element. So I say no, but why do you think AI could replace leadership?
You and I watched something on Netflix, the Circle, and the Circle is a TV show or a Netflix series where they place individuals in an apartment complex, but they can't see the other person. They can only chat with those individuals on the TV, and the only way that they can see that person, they only see one image of that person. So it's a interesting social experiment of putting people in an apartment complex that they can't interact with each other in person. They can only interact via chat. There's no phone calls, there's no voice calls, and they're having this communication, this dialogue. And the only thing that they can see of that individual, no video, just one image that each person chooses. And part of the social experiment is that individuals can join the show and be a catfish, and they can put a fake image of somebody. So, for example, a man can log in and put a picture of a girl and act as a girl throughout the whole entire show. Well, the one that we recently saw, they had a twist, and they added AI, artificial intelligence, and so it wasn't a person; it was artificial AI that was prompted to be a gentleman and to be a guy with a dog or a cat or whatever, to be an animal lover, but it wasn't a person. And in the show, they dropped the bomb and they said, "Hey, one of your people, after communicating for weeks or days, one of your people here is AI. Who is it?" And everyone's freaking out, like, who's the AI? So they had a voting system, and they voted who was the most likely to be AI. Well, they voted a woman, and it ended up being actually the woman. It wasn't a catfish, it was actually her. So that means AI was planted to be an individual in the show, and this person was more realistic as an individual amongst other humans. This person was more realistic to be an individual. So today we're in 2024, and that's like cutting edge technology. If people can be duped with AI, imagine what it's going to be like 6 years from now when AI is building AI, when people and AI are working together to build leadership. There are books today like Good to Great, How to Be a Leader, How to Win Friends and Influence People. There are so many books that artificial intelligence can just download in a split second to learn what to do in a scenario, to essentially be a human, communicate as a human, and lead an individual. From emotional intelligence, emotional regulation, to sharing a vision. AI could listen to this podcast in a split second and understand, okay, if I'm dealing with someone who doesn't have a vision of progression, don't work with them. Okay, clear, got that. And then and that happens in 1 second. They don't have to think about it. They don't have to emotionally wonder. They just go ahead, read and download content, and then next thing you know, they can have a whole chat conversation with leadership and leading an individual through a challenge and working with them for a long period of time. And either A, the person doesn't even know, or B, the person looks and actually builds a relationship with AI. I can see that happening in like 6, 7, 8, maybe even 10 years. Definitely in our lifetime.
Well, I'm intrigued because I'm on the side of no, but that's a podcast for another day. But I'm intrigued what our audience would think. I would love to hear their perspective. If they want to comment, whether you're watching it on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, if you catch a clip about this, share us your thoughts. Do you think AI can replace leadership roles in the workplace or business? Because we can do part 2 and see, but I'm interested to see. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, in the comment section, let me know. Let us know. Like, do you think AI could replace managers and leaders in businesses? I would love to know.
Awesome. Well, that's it for today. I look forward to the next podcast. And as always, feel free to comment any other questions and we will be happy to discuss them. Thank you for your time, Andy. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.